congrats on the win. How good does that feel, and what are the emotions like at the moment?
Yeah, it's great. It's look, it's always good to beat a great side. Freo, well coached, well drilled. Hostile environment, always tough to come over, and one of the toughest trips in modern AFL footy, and to come away with a 1-point victory when we got headed. I thought it speaks volumes of the playing group and how far the club has come. It's been 15 years of hard work, and we've managed to make the finals first and foremost. But to have our first victory in a final is incredibly rewarding. We get the great challenge of trying to beat Brisbane on their home patch. So probably the biggest game in Queensland history, I would imagine. So looking forward to it.
When you saw Swallow get that free kick, did you just think this is meant to be now?
We're just hoping he made the distance, to be honest. We weren't too sure, but look, it was sort of a fairy tale moment, wasn't it? He's such a he is Gold Coast. He uses the fabric of the place, and what he's given our football club, it was just reward, I think. And for him to kick the winning point that got his club over the line, someone that he's served since he's been 17 years of age, 15 years here, given so much, and I think Witter summed it up best when he sort of said, Dave stayed when others moved on, and that was fine, but Dave committed and stayed the course. So it was a great reward for him.
When was the decision of bringing him to the squad?
Yeah, I spoke to Dave. He actually lives about 5 doors down from me, so I went there the first time, and him and Georgia were out for dinner, sort of thing. I thought, oh God, this is going to be awkward. And I think it may have been one of his sister or cousin or something was there, so I had to come back later, and I just thought it was important that he played. He's, as I said, he is Gold Coast. What he's given this football club. We didn't give him a game, but he earned the game. Not only from his form thus far, but what he's given this club over, I think, the 15 years previous. So it was important that he played.
Is he in a game against Brisbane?
Yeah, we'll have selection. God, can I just enjoy this one, please? We'll get the selection later on the week, so we'll work our way through that. But it was a great story.
You spoke to the players, addressed the players pre-match. Were you able to share a little bit of what he shared with them?
I just he spoke to the midfield group, which was very cool, and we sort of spoke about how the guys have done the heavy lifting throughout the year, and he wanted to jump on the back of that and enjoy the experience, and it was very, very good. Sean Grigg got him to speak to the guys, and it was quite a touching sort of moment for him to be out in front of the group and speak to them, and they idolise him. He's everything that everyone wants to be. Both on and off the field, he's an incredible person.
In a final, you're up 26 points. Fremantle come home, who have been coming home strong the last few weeks here, playing in the first clubs ever final. No one really would have said anything negative. You had to let them to win. The maturity to be able to get back in front, win the ball out of the middle. Against Port a couple of weeks ago, you got beaten in the middle. So to be able to turn that around in that last couple of minutes, you must be happy with that maturity.
Yeah, it was. And we speak about it all the time. Losses are gifts in a way, and you learn your lessons along the way. And, Fremantle, they always, come back hard. Their last quarters have been very good, and we just couldn't quite get some things right, especially around clearance, but we managed to rectify that at the end. But, we've spoken about it all year. This is a side that digs in. Grit we speak about often with our group, and connection, and the phrase we sort of come up with, it's a Suns side that never gives in and refuses to be beaten, and they dug deep. Like you said, we could have quite easily just rolled over, but that's not what this group's about, and it's really important that the players understand the fabric of what they've created, that identity piece. Noah and his leadership group do a wonderful job of aspirational type leadership about getting the guys to understand and believe how good they can be. We were 1-8 previously, now we're 1-6 chance of winning. Something pretty special.
What will it do for the belief?
Well, it's what they want to do with it, really. I think what we've done is come 6 hours across felt like the longest flight in the world, how long it took, but there's no tougher challenge, I reckon, than coming across here in front of 60,000 fans, hostile environment, get headed with 2.5, 3 minutes to go, and then respond. So they'll gain enormous confidence, I think, out of that victory. And there's been games throughout the year that we've responded like that, and it was another important step forward, I think.
When you trail, do you send the message out to get Mac forward, or does he make the call himself? How does
we sort of go through a number of things depending on how long it was and all that. But Tracy went forward, so normally we go into a couple of situations like that, but because Tracy went forward, we threw Mac forward. So we sort of just nullified the aerial power sort of thing, and we got a good response. When we kicked the goal, though, then trying to get the ground reorganised with the 6-6-6 was tough, because we wanted him back, then thought, oh, we'll leave him forward. And so anyway, he just made up his own mind whatever the hell he wanted to do. And the reason we signed that guy for such a long period of time is we realised what a special player he is, but more importantly, how good he can become.
You touched on the Q Flash. Lions obviously no Lockie Neal. Hipwood's out for the season as well. Do you sense that this is a huge opportunity? They're a bit wounded at the moment and could be right for the picking?
Oh, listen, we had a really good win versus them 6 to 8 weeks ago. So we take a lot of stock out of that. End of the day, both sides will have challenges, there's no doubt about that. But what I do know, Brisbane are a very, very good football club, and there's something we aspire to be. So at some stage, little brother's got to step up and take them on their home deck. So we look forward to that challenge. We've managed to knock a few things over this year that we haven't achieved thus far. A victory here is one of those, and a victory at the Gabba would be incredibly nice. But what we do know, Brisbane are a very proud side. So well coached, well drilled. We look forward to the challenge.
For it to be a final, the Q Clash, can you talk about the significance of that?
Yeah, well, like I said previously, I think it'd be the biggest game in the history of Southeast Queensland, I would imagine. So scalpers will be going crazy with ticket sales and all that sort of stuff. But, we hopefully can get as many Suns people there as we can. And, hopefully they enjoyed that game today, and hopefully get a few more people on board, because I think this group has only really started our journey really. We're young and aspiring, as is the side we played tonight. Like, they're a very good side. They're young like us, and there's going to be some games that these two are going to play for a long period of time, I think.
In terms of the Gabba, what sort of aura does it hold over, particularly your side, given that you're in the same state? But it's
well, I've only been here for a couple of years, and I think we've lost twice in that situation. But we get a better understanding every time. Like, we've played at various stages, well there. We've defended reasonably well. So there's some things that we'll take out of that. But obviously, the last game that we played against them, we got a better understanding of how to attack and what clearance looks like as well. So there's always lessons you learn. It's just a matter of piecing together the puzzle and figuring out what's the best result for us.
It's a really good feeling in the room. So I was just in there talking to some players. Do you have to reel it in, or do you ride it?
Oh, you sort of lean in, and you understand that there's a lot of people that have been, foundation members, but also foundation board members, foundation staff that have been there for 15 years. And one of the things we want to do, and every club will do it, wins are very, very hard in AFL footy, especially, in elimination finals when you travel 6 hours to get here. So we'll enjoy that. We'll enjoy the win tonight, and then we'll get back to work tomorrow. We've got people that have been in our footy club for a long period of time that have worked so hard to give ourselves an opportunity, and we're finally getting the rewards of their hard work. There's a lot of people that aren't in the room tonight that have helped pave the way. Previous coaches, previous players. So it's important they understand that the significance they've played in the rising of the Suns, really.
Damien, you famously said your side needed to, excuse the language, grow the F up, basically. Do you feel like
if you're going to say it, you've got to say it. Come on, no.
I would like to keep my job. Do you feel like that's what you got tonight, though?
I think so. And they've been incredible this year. Like, we've had some disappointing performances, but like every side, you're not going to be up for a long period of time. But what I do know is that when the whips are cracking, our boys respond pretty well. I look at the leadership under Noz, and, Rowley's grown in that aspect, as has Ben King. Like, Ben King didn't kick a goal tonight, but I thought his impact on the game was enormous. He was running around there like Buddy Franklin at one stage up on the wing there. So, but, I think our leaders have really stood up. And once again, we've had, guys like Jared Weirts, David Swallow that have helped, give guidance to these guys. But they've done a wonderful job, the playing group.
You've obviously achieved everything as a coach, but where does that win tonight rank for you personally?
Yeah, it was funny. I was saying to the guys, it was quite a special win. I've never won an elimination final, actually, so that's one of the things that I ticked off my little list. But I don't know. I just think it's more that is what it has given our group, our club, and our fans. They've changed the narrative, this playing group, which is so important. At the end of the day, we've been a club that has been probably, I don't want to say ridiculed, but, stomped on, forgotten. But all of a sudden now, the narrative's changed, and it's all because of the people that are in charge. The board, but more importantly, the playing group has decided to make a change and make a stand. So we're very proud of what they've done thus far.
Tonight, 3 players in the final experience. The next match you'll have 23.
Yeah, it's a good result.
Yeah. How much of a bonus is that? They've now got a bit of.
Yeah, it is. But I think I said this previously. I feel like the last 4 or 5 weeks we've played finals-like games, if that makes sense. So the challenge and the expectation of we have to win to get in has always been there. And some of those games we've done well in, and there's other games we need to do better in. So, but as I said previously, losses are really gifts. So you learn some things along the way. We got an enormous amount, although we didn't win the game, out of the Port Adelaide game. It was a tough finals like Cauldron with, playing for 2 stars of their footy club in Ken and Travis. And, there's some things that we didn't handle overly well, but we handled those things a lot better tonight. So, once again, it's a big step forward for our footy club. Thank you, guys.